back to the Got Fishing Podcast. And like I always say, I'm really excited about this next episode. But I truly am, because I got my good buddy Abe Blair with us. Many of you know Abe Blair because he's been a part of the Got Fishing team for quite a few years now. And last year, Abe and I did a podcast on photography and a lot of, namely around Alaska and bears and some of the experiences that he's had. Since that podcast, Abe is now, and I'm going to let him tell a little bit more of the story, but he is now the lodge manager of probably two of the coolest lodges up in Alaska, period, end of story. And so it's also a trip that we carry here at Got Fishing. So I thought we'd do a little podcast, not just about the lodges per se. We'll obviously tie into some of those experiences that the lodge offers, but this podcast is going to be more about making sure that you get the best Alaska trip possible. And yes, it is all about fishing in Alaska, and that is why people go there. But there's so many things that Abe and I have seen over our years, and especially, Abe's experience kind of firsthand with people that really, really enjoy the Alaska experience, and people that have struggled with it because they miss the essence of really why you're up in Alaska. So, Abe, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me, man. It's always a good time talking about, one of my favorite places in the world, and we don't get to spend enough time together on the water, so this is the next best thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. So tell us a little bit about you. You actually have been going to the Intricate Bay Lodge and managing that for a few weeks of the summer each year for quite a while, but then that just transitioned over the last couple of seasons. Walk us through kind of what's going on up there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm full time, start to finish now. Last year was my first open to close season. I think this upcoming summer will be my 8th year guiding and fishing up there, and I mean, I love it. I wouldn't be going if I didn't love it. I don't have to go up there. This is what I call my vacation job, but I just truly love it. It's a special slice of heaven in the world. As we talked on our chat before, I mean, obviously everybody's there to go fishing, and we catch huge fish and lots of them. But the immersion that we have with the bears, camping with the bears, hiking small creeks, carefully looking around, and bear could be around the corner at any point in time. It's just the lifestyle. I love it. It suits me. I love to teach people how to fish. Being so close to those bears, the eagles, the freshwater seals, the airplanes.
Yeah, for sure.
I often, if of anything, I think I take it most for granted the airplanes. Being in and out of those things on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah.
Getting dropped off in the middle of nowhere is always special.
Well, let's get into that real quick. Let's just kind of set the table. Intricate Bay Lodge is on Lake Iliamna. I'm gonna let Abe kind of explain to people, how you get there. But what's really cool about this is that we have Intricate Bay Lodge that is, I would call 5-star. Orvis endorsed. Just everything, chef prepared foods. Everything has been covered on this one. And then literally, it's kind of hard to explain, but a quarter mile, like a small hike and a quick little boat ride, or a quick little plane ride up and over that little inlet there, and you're at the outpost. In the Outpost Lodge, I've actually been here and done these experiences. So I personally love the Outpost. And the Outpost would be your 3-star lodge in a 5-star setting. I mean, when you close your eyes and picture Alaska and the settings and the sunsets and sunrises, it's the Outpost. I mean, it's got a fire heated hot tub, a fire heated sauna, which was amazing. It's just kind of your quintessential lodge. Not quite as nice and fixed up as the newer lodge, the Orvis endorsed one. But what's cool about this experience is it offers both. The really kind of high end, and then also the Outpost. And I know when you originally got there, you were mainly over at the Outpost, and now you're managing both. So tell us just a little bit about what makes those lodges slightly different before we jump into the experiences.
Well, I think the best way for us to describe the differences is, and as we refer to, Intricate Bay Lodge is kind of like your corporate retreat. It's big, it's fancy, it's luxurious. And as you said, I mean, the Outpost it's as I like to say, it's a little more authentic. It's a little more rustic. It's just an older building. It's been around for a few decades. It's one of the original flyout lodges in the region. It was owned by Bob Cusack, who's a world-renowned bear hunter, and he used that as his facility there. Um, for the last 4 years, I've lived at the Outpost, and last year, even as the manager of Intricate Bay, I lived at the Outpost. That's where I like. I love it. It's just authentic, and we get to fish all the same places as Intricate Bay. We use the same airplanes. We eat the same food. And it's from a consumer perspective, you're getting the same product for a substantial discount. I think we're like $1,700 less per week at the Outpost, and it's smaller groups, which I personally enjoy because I get to sit at the dining table. Sometimes my entire guide staff will share the dining table with the guests, so we really get to know each other. It's both lodges are we develop a family environment, but at the Outpost, we're there. We're sharing the lodge with the guests. We share the dining table. Um, yeah, and the wood burning hot tub, the sauna. It's all the same. It's just you're not paying that corporate retreat kind of rate.
Right.
So it suits many folks. I definitely had a lot of guests who have been at the big lodge, and then they've come over to the Outpost, and they rebook for the Outpost. It's just a more intimate experience.
They're both
Um,
amazing. They're both amazing for sure. They're just different in their own rights. I like how you
yeah.
put though that that's the lodging part of it, but the access to all these amazing waters is identical no matter where you're staying.
Yep, exactly. We're gonna fly to the same locations. And then from a strategy perspective, I love the fact that we do fly to the same locations as the lodge. So when we get to a river, there might be a few outfits on the water, but two of those are owned by the same owner, Brian Harry, and managed by me. So we can work the water, I think, more efficiently because we know more of the guides. We're not competing with each other, so we're able to share the water very nicely, and it just
Communication
makes the
a lot
whole
better and yeah, I like that. One of the things when I came for the trip a few years ago, I stayed at the Outpost, and that definitely suited my style as well. Um, but again, both lodges are amazing. What this podcast is really about though is no matter where you go in Alaska, obviously we highly recommend Intricate Bay Lodge, we highly recommend the Outpost, and we'll give you some reasons why. But we want to talk about kind of the experiences that Intricate Bay and Outpost offers, which also helps us kind of tie into when you're coming to Alaska. It is not cheap today. It's not. I think as a booking agent, one of the things that we see all the time is people will request information on our Alaska fishing trips and then are really shocked. I mean, it's not just the flights, but Alaska fishing trips today are expensive, and there's a lot of reasons why. Fuel costs and fresh food, and I mean, it is way up there. And there's a lot of reasons why Alaska trips are priced where they're at right now. But if you are a consumer, an outdoors woman, an outdoors man who's looking to go up to Alaska, whether it's your first experience or maybe you've been up to Alaska and it wasn't the best experience, some of the things that Abe and I are going to talk about will help you plan and prepare better for your next Alaska fishing adventure, no matter where it is. And I think the biggest thing, what I enjoyed about the Outpost was the diversity. When you go to Alaska, one of the things you want to do is really experience Alaska. Unless you plan on going there a bunch of times, for many people, this is a bucket list trip. You're going up to Alaska maybe once, maybe twice. It's something that many people have saved up for to make happen, or maybe it's a graduation present. So one of the things that I always tell people is, you want to go up to Alaska and pick a lodge that has a lot of diversity, that has, different waters, different lakes, different ways of fishing. And one of the things that I really love about Intricate Bay Lodge and the Outpost was the Lodge and Stars experience. I really felt like that gave people a really good feel of what Alaska has to offer. And basically, I'm going to let you tell a little bit more about what the trip offers. But when you go to Alaska, there's so much more. A lot of these lodges are amazing, but so many of them, you stay at that one lodge, you get in a boat, you go up on the same river day in and day out. We're here. One of the cool things about this trip is on the Lodge and Stars part, the stars aspect of it, you're flown into a river. It's pretty remote. Yes, you'll see other people, but it's very unique. You pump up some rafts, and you're actually going to float this river for, I believe it's 3 days and 2 nights, and get some dirt under your fingernails and really, really enjoy Alaska as an adventure. Bears and bald eagles and fish. Then you're picked up in an airplane, flown back to the lodge, and whether it's the Outpost or the Intricate Bay Lodge, they're now eating chef prepared food, hot tubs, saunas, hot showers, and really kind of having a 5-star experience. I personally think that's the best way to experience Alaska. Is really that's the best of both worlds right there. And I know that you, as the manager, that's one of people's favorite trips that they do. Tell us a little bit about what makes it so unique.
I mean, the raw immersion to, as you say, Alaska. I mean, Alaska it's a wilderness. Most of the state is wilderness. And as you said, like when you're at a lodge, it's comfortable and very cushy.
Yeah.
But when we do those Lodge and Stars trips, you get to really experience Alaska. I mean, you're living on the river. You're surrounded by the bears. It's just where we often go. There'll be anglers from other lodges and whatnot. Everybody goes home at 5 o'clock, and
Right.
then we're the only ones there. We get the whole place to ourselves, so we get to adjust our schedule, and we can fish uninhibited by other outfits. And wake up in the morning, have a cup of coffee, and be the first ones on the water, fish for a while, and then take kind of a break in the afternoon when maybe the foot traffic or the boat traffic is highest, and we'll go look at bears. We'll go hang out. We'll take a nap. We'll go take a hike.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just the immersion of it. I mean, I'm the manager. I'm supposed to be at the lodge running the show. I do every single Lodge and Star trip. And I run the lodge via satellite phone because I am not going to pass up the opportunity to camp out there. It's a once in a lifetime experience that I'm privileged to do a few times a year, and I think we've already got 5 trips on the books for this upcoming summer, which we might be getting there in terms of like an all time record this year with the amount of trips that we're doing with that Lodge and Stars.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's the immersion. When you and I were there, I mean, waking up, and unzipping your tent to seeing a mom and 2 cubs 30 feet away
Yeah, that
with
was
no care in the world that you're there. Mom's teaching the cubs how to catch salmon, and um, it's just phenomenal. There's no comparison,
yeah, well
and
said.
that's such a popular trip for us.
That was an incredible experience that night. It was just you and I there, and we were getting the tents and everything set up. And I remember you saying, "Hey, look out there!" And that coming from Montana, where I'm born and raised, if you see a grizzly bear that close, number one, you know, you're knocking on the door of death. That was 30 yards away. And then all of a sudden, out came one cub, and then out came another cub. And yeah, I was like, didn't know whether to film or run or what. But yeah, not a care in the world. Fed on that salmon right there in front of us for 5-10 minutes, and then just kind of walked off. And that's one of the things that I did want to talk about a little bit was the bears. I mean, it is an incredible experience. It's exhilarating to be that close to an apex predator. I mean, the top of the food chain. And coming from the lower 48, absolutely, you need to be deadly afraid of grizzly bears. We literally just did a podcast on kind of the not necessarily the reintroduction, but just how many grizzly bears actually exist, in the Montana and Idaho corridors. and how they are a real problem today for the outdoorsman. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
people assume that, that carries up over to Alaska. But the reality of it is that I don't want to say no one, but basically of the thousands and thousands of people that go experience Alaska, basically no one is attacked. So it's kind of an interesting deal where you're hanging out with these apex predators within literally, like, remember the next morning when we had that big boar sitting out in the water and I got up and took a picture of it and you took a picture of me taking a picture of the bear? That was like
Yeah, I
literally.
mean, that thing's like 25 feet away from you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, could have killed you in a second. And so a lot of people saw that picture and they were like, "You're crazy." It's like a little bit, but it happens every single day. Like that, the pictures that you've taken, with the bears walking right past the rafts at 10, 15, not yards, but feet. So I think what's one of the experiences that people kind of overlook as something that's just incredible about Alaska outside of the fish is interacting with these bears and making sure that you're at a lodge that has a fishing trip that you're going to be around them. It's not as dangerous as it might sound. It's like I said, to overuse that word exhilarating, but it really is kind of an intense deal. But knowing that you are safe. You've had some
Yeah, I
incredible
mean,
too.
we're there every day, all the time. We know the bears. I wouldn't necessarily say I name the bears, but I recognize the bears. They frequent the same areas. I've seen the same bears year after year fishing in the same pieces of river, and we practice an abundant amount of bear safety and caution, and we are prepared for the unlikely event of something bad happening. But we know our environment. We know our backyard animals. I routinely will stop my day of guiding to give people an interaction with these bears. Say, hey, would you like to get closer? Like, come with me. Let's get you a good
Yeah,
picture. And with my photographic background, I can put us in a good location to get those images. I'll tell you a brief little story from last season. We're hosting a group of retired SEALs, freshly retired Navy SEALs. I mean, these are, the apex predators of the human race,
right.
basically. Um, I see a couple of bears on an island, so I pull the boat. I say, "Hey guys, you want to get a picture of them?" And, yeah, yeah, sure thing. So we pull the boat over and we get a few photos, and a couple more bears show up. And long and short is, we can't even get to our raft to depart the island because there's a bear in the way. And so we take more pictures and selfies of the bears, and they get in the boat, and they just say, "That is the craziest thing I've ever done." And I
Yeah,
have to call them out. I'm like, you're a Navy SEAL. I'm pretty sure you've done some pretty crazy stuff in your day. And as they said, when they were operators, they came in knowing they were the apex tactical advantage. They had the equipment, but the experience I provided them, he said, all they had was a phone in their hand. Um, and the exhilaration, the excitement that they got to experience um, was a once in a lifetime deal for them. And I mean, these guys have done things that obviously nobody knows about,
yeah,
and to hear them reflect about that experience, it brings a great amount of reward to me, and just that much more appreciation to the environment we get to work in.
totally.
um, and
Great.
doing that every day
Yeah,
is phenomenal.
it never gets old. I mean, it's such an intense deal that you do have a lot of respect for the moment, right? You do know that this could churn, like you said. There's pepper spray and there's firearms, on people. So if something were to go bad, but when they're 10, 15 feet away, 20 yards away, and they can travel up to 35, 40 miles an hour, things can churn south really, really fast. And so there is that kind of knowing that nothing has ever happened and in all likelihood is not. But also, boy, if it did, it'd be quick. It'd be quick. So I think I see what
That, that
those SEALs are saying.
that Glock, that I wear is right under my chin every day. When we get in close, I'm always, open my jacket up a little bit. I'm prepared. I'm ready. But again, our just knowledge of the region and the wildlife, we can read these animals very, very well, and we can tell which ones we should not get near and which ones we could get a little bit closer to. And I have to read my guests as well.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to get really close, but it's something I pride myself in all of our guides in being able to do, is to give people these experiences. Yeah, everybody's there to go catch fish, but it's important in all walks of life, in all your travels, but to zoom out, look around, look at the bears, look at the eagles. When we're flying over the tundra, don't take a nap, don't read a book, look out the window. You're seeing um, true raw wilderness. Everything about every minute of the experience that we offer is unique. Even our guests who've been coming to the lodge for a decade, we've got our longest returning group. I think they're coming back for their 15th consecutive season. Um, that says something.
Well,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
and every single year they're loving it, and they experience something new, and they're sharing it with their children now who have grown up, and their grandchildren, and it's a family tradition for a lot of our guests to visit and enjoy.
Well, and there's no way that the fishing can be great 15 years in a row, right? And that's kind of, part of the point of this podcast is that when you come up to Alaska for that bucket list trip, you are, like we said, you are here for the fishing, but the fishing isn't, it can be a little bit more tricky than people assume. I know for a fact that a lot of people assume you go to Alaska and there's just salmon everywhere in every river, every stream, because that's what you see online, right? You see these huge pods of sockeye where the river's just red, and you get up there and you don't see that, right? And so real quickly, and I'll let you jump in on any of it that you'd like to, but the salmon, Alaska is known for salmon fishing, so also known for trophy rainbow fishing. But there are different species that come into the systems at different times, and there can be these lags between the sockeye and the silvers, or maybe one run has been really, really strong and is at the tail end, and the other run isn't as strong that year. So there's not going to be as many fish, and the people that were just there a month ago may have caught a lot of fish because they were fishing. I mean, it's literally fishing, but the expectation when people go to Alaska is that you are going to catch fish. There's just no question about it. And that doesn't always happen. Obviously, it's the goal of the guides, and more often than not, you are going to catch some fish, but it is enjoying. Like, I want to back up a little bit to some of the things you were saying earlier. It's not just the bears, but some of these hikes are absolutely amazing. And most anglers that I know are outdoorsmen. They really do enjoy hiking and camping and hunting and fishing. It's kind of a package deal. So there's some amazing hikes to be had. I love the fact that you get people involved in kind of more intimate bear watching, taking some photography. Just as a side note, Abe does do a photography trip up at Intricate Bay Lodge, and you can contact us for more information on it. But he does some photography clinics with the bears, where you'll go out there and really get intimate. And I'll have him talk a little bit about that at the end there. But it's about hiking, it's about fishing, it's about rafting, it's about photography, it's about camaraderie, it's about all of those things when you go to Alaska. And I think if people can keep those expectations, understand that the fishing isn't always going to be great, but that's not the only reason why I'm going to Alaska. I'm up there to experience raw nature, and if I keep a positive attitude no matter what's going on, I'm going to come away with this thing with an absolutely incredible experience. And hopefully that includes a box full of fish, but it may just include a whole bunch of photos of just epic experiences.
Yeah. I mean, we have such a diverse area that we can chase the salmon on multiple rivers if you want to bring a box of fish, and
Yeah,
we tailor every week, every trip, every day to what you want, and we take people to what we believe is the best location for whatever they're looking for.
right.
And it's changing all the time, every day, the weather and whatnot. But again, it is nice having the diversity that we have. You can, on average, you'll float the upper copper, which is like a small mountain stream, basically, but we do it in a raft. And then the next day, you could be over on the Gibraltar. So you're going to fly over a couple of massive lakes and some tundra, and then float a medium-sized river with some smaller rapids that we, get to run. And then the next day, we might do a walk and wade where we may hike a mile across the tundra to get into a small river canyon and then fish a small stream where it's exclusively sight fishing. And then the iconic Moraine River, where we do a lot of those lodge and stars, that's fully out in the tundra. There's no bush or tree more than 7 feet tall, and
So
every day is just such a unique visual.
yeah, yeah.
We don't repeat water every single day because we have so much to offer.
Yeah. That is definitely what is unique and sets you guys apart from a lot of the lodges is and it doesn't have to be accessed just by planes. I mean, you guys have multiple rivers and streams right that you can jet sled to right from the lodge. So it
Yep,
doesn't
yep. We
necessarily
run
have
up to
to
the
be
lower copper. Yeah, we run up to the lower copper often. We can fish the lower Gibraltar. Yeah, so there's quite a few options. It's not always about the airplanes. They are excessively fun, but yeah, we just have a good diverse amount of water, which is just nice. I mean, I've never heard anybody complain about the locations we go and everything. And
Well, what I like
um,
about it is you hear a lot about these. There are fly out lodges in Alaska, where every day you fly out to a different part, different river, different lake, different experience, and that is great. But one of the things about Alaska is weather. So not you hear a lot of these stories about these very expensive fly out lodges where you're supposed to fly out 5 or 6 days and you don't fly out 2 or 3 days, and they actually don't necessarily have backup experiences, right? And that's one of the really cool things about Inchcote Bay Lodge and the Outpost is again back to the diversity. Is some days you can be flying out, some days you can be using the jet sleds, kind of depending on the weather. You no matter what, you are fishing every day, and that's exactly what happened to us. One of the days we were supposed to fly out, we woke up in the morning and it just wasn't happening. We jumped in the boats, and I think we were on the lower Gibraltar in no time at all.
yep, yeah, we've got that really awesome Hughes craft boat, which allows us to access the lower Gibraltar. We're the only lodge in the region that has that boat, and it is truly an ace up our sleeve for multiple reasons.
No day
You
wasted.
know, and just the boat ride itself is gorgeous. You're going
Oh,
to see freshwater seals, and we're weaving through the islands, and sometimes you can see the bottom of the lake. It's 40 feet deep, and then we go over a section that's like 300 feet deep. I mean, it's really cool, and it's just such a nice, luxurious boat with those twin 200s on there and a nice heated cabin.
yeah.
It's traveling in luxury for sure.
I sat outside the cabin the whole time because I just, like you were saying, the views. The views are absolutely incredible. I really enjoyed that boat ride.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I'm really glad we have that boat, and the Gibraltar is often one of my favorite rivers that we fish every week. It's just kind of the best of both worlds. It's the epitome of the planes, trains, and automobiles. I'd say, where you take a plane to the top, and then you float down a gorgeous river, see some bears, catch a bunch of trout, and then take this awesome boat ride back.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well, the both lodges again, like we've said, offer a diverse amount of adventures, which I think is kind of ties into what we're talking about here. If and when you go to Alaska, like I said, obviously give Got Fishing a call. We'll get you set up with the trip that's going to best fit you and the experience and the budget and everything. But Intricate Bay Lodge and the Outpost are great offerings. But no matter what trip, even if you're kind of going on your DIY and you're Googling and you're going to set up your own trip because that's what you like to do, great. Some of the things that we're trying to get across today is, and we'll get into some of the about attitude and energy, but make sure that you're picking a lodge that has some diversity. make sure that you're picking a lodge that has a backup plan so that, you're not just fishing the same water every single day, that there's some other stuff that you're going to be experiencing. If it is a fly out lodge, make sure that they have a backup plan in case the weather rolls in, because in a season, I'm telling you, there's no way that they're able to fly out every single day. So make sure that your lodge has that. Make sure that you have the different experiences, the bears, the bald eagles, the ability to go hiking. Some of these things that really make Alaska special. I think a lot of people get caught up in just getting to Alaska, getting that lodge, and filling the box full of fish. And a lot of people come home super excited because that happened, but other people kind of truly, in my opinion, miss the essence of what Alaska has to offer. And hopefully we covered that, in this podcast. But one of the things that I want to tie into, and I'm going to give you my perspective and then turn it over to Abe, but there's always this kind of these tips of what can I do to make sure that I'm going to have the best trip possible. And I've talked about it in other podcasts before, and that's having a positive attitude. The single most important thing that you can do on any fishing adventure is having a positive attitude. Abe, you just got back from the Bahamas, and I know that a lot of that was just it was an amazing trip, but also some of the flight stuff. And we just got back from Argentina. One of our clients lost a phone on the way to the trip. So there's things along the way that can kind of interrupt your trip, get you left of center. And having a positive attitude throughout the entire trip, no matter what happens, is huge. And I've seen time and time again where deploying that positive attitude, because again, this is an adventure. It's not going to go perfectly. That's part of it. And keeping that positive attitude, it really lends itself to having an exceptional experience. Something cool is going to happen. You've obviously been up there way more than me. You've had a lot of clients come and go, people that could afford to come every single year for 16 years, and people that can just afford to come once. What tip would you give people that are wanting to come up to Alaska?
I think my tip, I think it applies to all travel and just kind of daily life, is just um, keep your expectations real. I think too often people in general set expectations and then define their experience based off of the expectation that they have set.
Yeah, well,
And I think it's important, as you say, to just embrace the day, every adventure. Yeah, we're going to go to a certain destination and you want to catch X number of fish or a certain size of fish. But if that is how you judge your trip, I don't think you'll ever have a good trip.
right.
I think it's really important that you have goal. I like to use the term goals versus expectations. And I think that allows people to just truly enjoy their experience, because there's highs and lows to all adventures and travels. And we all have goals for what you want to
Yeah.
accomplish on any trip, on any given day. And rather than having an expectation of this is going to happen, and if it doesn't, it's a failure, I think that's just a horrible way to operate on a daily basis. And we should have goals, and we can shoot for those goals, and we can work hard for those goals. It might take a few trips, it might take a few days, a few years, but when you accomplish that goal, that's where the reward comes in, compared to an expectation where it's a letdown if it doesn't happen. And so I think it's just healthier to look at stuff in a goal oriented way, and not a this is going to happen, and if it doesn't, I didn't succeed.
That is such an awesome perspective. Yeah, I mean, so well said. You're absolutely right. And when it is an expectation, you expect to catch that permit. When you do, it isn't as rewarding as if it was a goal. A goal to catch that permit, a goal to bring home a box full of fish, a goal to catch a 20-pound rainbow at Jurassic Lake. And just as an example, both of you and I have come off of fishing experiences as of lately where they were great experiences. We did catch a lot of fish. You were in the Bahamas, I was over in Argentina, but we were
Mhm.
just both over at Pyramid Lake about a month ago, 3 weeks ago, and
Less than that, yeah.
it was not good. I mean, the fishing was not good. And we put a couple on in the net. They were nothing of any size, which obviously you go to Pyramid Lake because not only the kind of the quantity, but certainly the quality. One of the two is happening, and we didn't have either, and we had a blast, an absolute
Still a great
blast.
time.
Is exactly what you said, that it was a goal of ours to catch a big fish. It was a goal to catch a double digit, Lahat and Cutthroat. It didn't happen, but the camaraderie, the camping right there on the lake, the stars, the meals, the campfires, it really made it an incredible experience. And I can't wait to get back next year. And the goal is to catch a double digit Lahat and Cutthroat. But again, I really, really like that perspective of goals versus expectations. So well said.
Yeah, I think it's something I try to apply daily in all walks of life, but especially in travel and trips.
Right. Right.
It's just important. Yeah, I mean that pyramid trip was wonderful. Yeah, it was a tough fishing, but when I reflect back on that few days of fishing, I don't think it sucked. I don't think we
No.
failed. We had a great time, good camaraderie, great company, great laughs, good jokes.
Yeah.
We all busted ass to complete our goal, but the goal wasn't met. So better luck next year. I can't wait to try again.
It's funny too, because I remember I laughed my ass off for like 3 days straight. And I think part of it was because the fishing was so terrible. We were always goofing around, and it just made it a lot of fun. And so yeah, I have nothing but great memories of it as well. But
Yeah,
that comes from our attitudes, but also, we've had the luxury of going on a few trips. So for the people that are listening, now, I think that was a great tip that you should put in your back pocket. Like Abe said, for all things in life, one of the things we talk about all the time at Got Fishing is, you know, shooting for the moon, landing amongst the stars. I think that ties into that goal thing. Have a goal, but a goal should be lofty. A goal should be something that, if you did obtain it, it would be crazy cool and just amazing. But many times, if we have the right goal, which is just a little bit out of range, we're going to fall short of it. And what happens if you do fall short of your goal? It is the whole experience of getting to that goal. And I think that, fishing is really represents that well. So many people go there expecting to catch fish, whether it's on their river, their lake, the adventure that they're going on. And if you can set a goal, you're going to be a lot happier. So that's a good tip, man.
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Real quick, because I think that's a great way to end. But I do want to circle back. If you're not following Abe, make sure that you do. He is an amazing photographer. He's not just lodge manager at these lodges, but Abe's really known in the fishing world for his photography. It's next level. I always joke around that everybody's got a buddy who's a professional photographer. Um, my buddy's a professional photographer. You are the real deal. And so if anybody, I want you to give out your Instagram there, but also anybody who's interested in going to one of these experiences, get a hold of us at Got Fishing. But particularly, let's just real quickly tell them a little bit about the bear photography experience that you're running as well.
Yeah, the bear trips are very similar to. It's a combination of our Lodge and Stars style fishing package, but instead of a fly rod, we got a camera in hand. And with my knowledge of fishing and the regions that we go to, we often can go to places that other photo tours are not offering. They don't know about, and I can provide great instruction, knowing where the light is, predicting where the bears are going to be moving, where they're going. Again, our intimate knowledge of the region
Yeah.
is what we really capitalize on in terms of just getting people in the right place. We'll wake up in the morning and we'll spend the day. We'll photograph a bunch of bears, and the whole time I'm going to be right at your shoulder, essentially. Hey, move a little bit more left, a little more right because of this lighting or this compositional element. And then we get back to the lodge and we get to download the pictures. And then I'm right there to help critique and give advice on what could have been done differently, what was done very well. how to process your images. We often talk about the business side of photography. How are we going to sell these pictures? Do you want to sell them? How do we share them on social media? All of the above. It's what I've been doing for like 2 decades plus now. So it's just something that comes natural, and I enjoy it just as much as the fish guiding, and maybe sometimes a little bit more, just because it's just that immersion with that bear and the teaching and the look on somebody's face when they nail that photo that they really wanted to capture, and all of the other ones that they didn't even imagine they would get. So we fly out usually every day. Sometimes we'll camp if the weather's going to be good. And similar to the fishing experience, I'll ask, what do you want? Are you looking for a charging fishing bear? Do you want mom and cubs? Do you want to find just babies? What kind of images do you want to create? And I'll cater that trip as best of my ability to allow you to capture those images.
Super sweet.
Uh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's great. We hosted a world acclaimed photographer last year named David Yarrow. And I asked him, I said, well, what are you looking for? And he described it very accurately. And 3 days into the trip, we got exactly what he wanted. Uh, that's what we do. We
Cool.
work our butts off to provide people the best experience that they're looking for in what we can offer.
Well, and I bring this up because, again, with all of the people that I deal with going to these different places, photography is a huge part. I mean, just our last podcast was literally on photography and capturing the best fishing photo for your buddy. And if you haven't listened to that, I'd go back and listen to it because it really is a good one. But that's more like on iPhones and kind of how to capture the moment for us that are just basic photographers and taking the best photo possible. But there's a lot of anglers out there that are really into photography and want to become better at it. And one of the things, kind of like the same thing that we tell anglers that are just getting into fishing, I say when I'm a better angler, I'll go on a guided trip. I'll go on one of these experiences. And we always say that's how you're going to expedite your fishing. I mean, to get out there with a guide, someone that's teaching you how to cast, set your line up, you're doing it day in and day out, you're able to bounce ideas off of them. You're going to come back a far better angler than if you fished, 2, 3 weekends a year over here in your home waters, right? And it's the same idea with photography. You can mess around with your camera all day long and twice on Sunday. You can do some YouTube stuff, or you can go on an experience where you're hanging out with a professional photographer, doing it day in and day out, and not just capturing bears, but things, sunsets, sunrises, just different aspects. And I think that you know your photography clinic and what you offer really is not only a next level 5-star experience, but any photographer out there that's looking to expedite their skill level, this is an amazing way to do it. So I just wanted to bring that up real quick because I know we have anglers out there that love fishing, they love photography. This is a great way of doing both and really, um, yeah, just upping your skill level in a significant way. So how do
Yeah,
people follow you, Abe, so that they can kind of see some of these barefoot photos and some of the things you've captured?
I'm on both Instagram and Facebook at Abe Blair. You can type me into Google, just my first and last name. You'll find pages of links to articles and other features that I've had around the world, as well as my social media. But I'm pretty easy to find and pretty active on both platforms.
I was just thinking about it. That's one of Abe's kind of famous photos. I know it's one of your favorites. I was lucky enough to get my hands on it as well. So that's just a small example of what we're talking about. But yeah,
Yeah,
Abe
that
does.
was a bear we photographed across from our camp.
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah. Well, Abe, thanks big time for coming on. I really appreciate it. I hope people got something out of this podcast, whether it's, how to make sure that you're planning the best last experience, how to make sure you have a positive attitude, and some of the different offerings that people can get their hands on that might have you involved in the lodges that you're managing. So I really appreciate you coming on. And for all of you that are listening, please share. I mean, we are beginning to grow, and hopefully that you guys have been enjoying these podcasts. Please share them with another angler out there that might benefit from this in any way, shape, or form. And we really, really appreciate you guys tuning in. And thanks for taking the time, Abe. We really appreciate you and everything that you do for Gut Fishing.
Anytime, man. Always a pleasure. And yeah, tight lines every day.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
No problem.